Morning, everyone. It's Joe Waxman, and here I am again making another video for you. This morning, I would like to read the chart of renowned prophet, or I guess they don't call him a prophet, mystic, seer, psychic, medium, Edgar Cayce, right? Okay, so a prophet would be something different, but okay, technicality. Anyway, prophecy. I mean, technically, I guess that would make him a prophet if he's making prophecies. But anyway, I guess, technicalities, differences. So let me share my screen to get right into it. So, I mean, I actually have not read any of Cayce's works. I know about him through videos and whatnot. I mean, I've known about him for a long time, but I know of some of the things that he's predicted through videos, because again, I have this weird thing. I don't like to read. I love listening to videos. So, yeah, anyway. But Cayce, he was known as the sleeping prophet, and he grew up with various mystical experiences. He would see ghosts, and then he found out that, like, if he would go to sleep, he could get the answers, whatever he was looking for. Like he was having trouble in school, and then he found out he could go to sleep and like see the learn all the information from his books while he was in this sleep state, trance, essentially. It's fascinating, right? So let's look at this. Okay. Sun is in Pisces, and it's his ascendant lord. So the sun is a very important planet. It's in the 8th house. I have an 8th house sun. 8th house sun in Pisces, man, super. I mean, that alone is super deep and mystical and psychic potential. Often we think like the moon is like the source of psychicness, and it is a lot of times. But I mean, the sun, obviously, no less, can be a very strong psychic instrument. The sun is fiery, and we would think, there's a tendency, I guess, to think that the fiery qualities of the sun will somehow reduce psychic ability. But I guess we'd have to look at more than the sun alone, which we can obviously see. There's a whole stellium, big stellium in Pisces, and although most of it's in the 7th house, it's moving towards the 8th house cusp. And this is the 8th sign. So it's important to consider whole sign influences, because it's gray. Astrology, you have to be able to see subtle influences, and there's more than one influence, and there's quadrant houses, and then there's also the whole sign houses. So his sun is fully, see, the way I see it, when you have double confirmation, 8th sign, 8th house, so between the 8th house cusp in Pisces to the 2959 second degree of Pisces, right before Aries, that's the full effect of the 8th house, right? You're getting double confirmation. That's like going to 2 doctors and they both tell you have cancer, right? Or they both tell you don't have cancer, whatever. You're getting a double. You're getting validation from 2 sources that this is the full 8th house period. So any planet that's in this section or coming close to this cusp is going to have very, very strong 8th house. After, in the Aries, yeah, still 8th house, but it's going to be mixed with 9th house. So you're getting less of a pure 8th house influence. I mean, plus, Pisces is water in itself. 8th house is water sign. So you're mixing water house, like scorpionic 8th house influence with Pisces 12th house, 8th house, 12th house, right? That's really, really strong for any sort of psychic, spiritual awareness type things. Okay. And not only that, sun is at 28, 24 degrees. So very high degree. Yeah, the sun is very well versed, well experienced in the Pisces energy, steeped in Piscean energy. Okay. And it's his ascendant lord. That's the first thing we can look at, right? Second thing would be moon. I mean, just in his chart in general. Second is it's an exalted moon in Taurus, right? And okay, so like, why are there different kind of psychics? Like some psychics will just be wide awake and just be like, you know, prophesying the future and like that. And he needed to be asleep. Okay, so I think it does have to do with the Earth influence, especially because, you know, Taurus moon, that's not a moon that we would normally think of as a psychic moon. Yes, very stable, well-nourished, happy moon. Sure, somebody who's very, you know, stable in their emotions, well-nourished, you know, content by all the sensorial things. This kind of moon can be happy if they have, you know, a good material life, like if they have good food, good house, good friends, good sensory everything. You know, nice couch to sit on, good bed to lay on, enough money in the bank account, all the sensory stuff is going to make this moon very happy, you know, which is good because it's not high maintenance. They don't need, like, you know, all these crazy things to feel good about themselves and to feel content inside. It also shows a very stable, well-nourished upbringing, childhood. So that's quite good. Except for the fact that, not except for the fact, but then in addition to that, we have Neptune and Pluto on both sides. They're wide, but they're still influencing it. Pluto would definitely be a harsh influence on the moon, a destructive influence on the moon. Neptune, more of a delusional fantasy. Here we would, I mean, both of these are definitely psychic planets. So they are adding a psychic influence. They're not super close, 10 degrees and 9 degrees respectively. But adding that definitely strong psychic influence. So just from this alone, okay, you want to make me to, if I'm going to make a case for why he was the sleeping prophet, it's this moon in Taurus. Taurus is a little too dense for psychic subtlety. So he's kind of got he has to go underneath the conscious mind, into the subconscious mind, into his Pisces stellium with the sun and all this, and in the 8th house. And that's where he can really tap into the psychic awareness. And, you know, he was like, he would go into that sleep trance and he would not even be aware of the things that he was saying. Like he would get up and it was not in his conscious mind. He was not, and correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not a Cayce expert, but I believe that he was not consciously aware of the things that he was saying in his trance like state. So that's fascinating, right? Things were coming through him that he was not even consciously aware of. Okay. Also, look at the house placement. So 9th house, but basically conjuncting the MC. So religion, philosophy, higher mindedness, but also public recognition, right? Career. Yeah. And he was famous. I mean, a lot of psychics are not famous. So we do want to see something in the 10th, 7th, 5th houses first. I mean, he has all those houses. So, I mean, that's one of the reasons why he was so recognized, so famous, right? He's famous. Edgar Cayce, we all know him. There are a lot of other psychics out there who are not famous. And a lot of his famous, the productivity, like he was incredibly productive. He produced a lot of work, a lot of readings, he gave a ton of readings, ton of information. So that is part of it. But that still also has to do with the 10th house. The 10th house is a house of productivity. When we have planets in the 10th house, we tend to really push those planets in active ways. We really assert that the 10th house, whatever we have in the 10th house. Okay, so here he has Pluto, Moon, and Neptune. Pluto is obsessive. Pluto is definitely in the 10th house, fully, and it's making a very obsessive career. So and Taurus, so Taurus is very, you know, material. So like this is a very productive career. I would think obsessively productive career. Somebody who's just constantly producing work, constantly working. in his case, constantly sleeping and in a trance. I guess you more accurately call it a trance. So like a trance type sleep, and then he's talking. And Pluto's square Uranus conjunct the ascendant in Leo. So I have Uranus conjunct the ascendant, and Uranus conjunct the ascendant isn't necessarily psychic, but I think it does lend itself to psychic awareness. And I definitely have, and I have also the 8th house sun, not in Pisces, but in Gemini. But I also, so I can testify, yes, psychic potential for sure. I'm not psychic like Cayce, but I do have very strong, especially at times, very strong psychic ideas, and that's Neptune. That's Uranus in or Uranus conjunct the ascendant. His in the 12th, 3 degrees from the ascendant, but so he's pulling in psychic awareness into his conscious mind, or in this case, subconscious. It's at odds with Pluto, or square Pluto, right? So that again could be the sort of a psychic tension that he needs to be asleep in order to help resolve this tension between these two highly psychic planets. I mean, Pluto's more farther away; it's more deep and more like deeply psychic. But Uranus is like this. Brings great awareness and certainly adds to the breadth and array of psychic potential. Leo is not really such a psychic sign, but I guess in this case it's working. It's obviously working, right? It's got this magnificent kite here, which we can't ignore. And it's the nodes, but it's also Mercury conjunct Saturn, conjunct, I left Eris in there because it's in the mix, and then Venus, exalted Venus. Mercury is debilitated, but you often see Mercury in Pisces with psychic people, because the psychic is the intellect, and then Pisces is the subconscious, psychic realm, the collective unconscious, the individual subconscious, whatever. But here, Mercury is the planet of communication. So you want Mercury involved in order for that psychic ability to come to the surface, because Mercury is the messenger. Mercury is the ability to, if you're psychic but it doesn't come out, what good is it? Like if you're just psychic and you're in like some part of your subconscious mind, but you can't express it, nobody's going to know that. You need Mercury involved. You need Mercury to be able to say, look, this is what's going to happen. These are my psychic predictions. Being able to predict, being able to express it, that's Mercury. So we need Mercury in Pisces, right? Sometimes debilitated planets have really special qualities. They special needs. Not special needs. It sounds like, like somebody on the short bus. Like really unique. They have really unique abilities. Debilitated planets for certain things. Mercury in Pisces is, beyond being creative, it's very creative, but it can be psychic, very psychic, right? And it's only aided by the North Node. Saturn probably plays into the sleeping aspect, because Saturn is limitation, delay. Saturn has this very wet, not wet blanket, because it's not a wet planet, but like heavy, cold, restrictive kind of blanket. So I think that's somehow limiting his expression, probably making it easier for him to, go to sleep and then express himself. I feel like that Saturn is tightly conjunct Mercury, is playing a part, along with the Earth, heavy Earth placements in the sleeping prophecy kind of thing. Now these are in the 7th house, so 7th house deals with communication with others. So again, there's this ability to get the message out to the people, right? 7th house is the house where we can most easily relate to others, because it's the house of others, both relationship and masses of others. It's not limited to just one-on-one relationships. It's a whole lot of people. Venus is also exalted in Pisces, part of this stellium. And it's really good to have Venus in Pisces here because the exalted Venus is giving strength to all these other planets and making them act much better in Pisces. Yeah, especially this debilitated Mercury, but also Saturn. And Saturn likes Venus because Saturn is exalted in Libra. So this helps out everything and helps the sun out. And they're moving, especially Venus is close enough to the 8th house cusp that it's influencing the 8th house as well. And it's in Pisces, which is a water sign, obviously. And Pisces is the sign of sleep, right? Sleeping with the fishes, as I have said. Although I did not make that one up, and I don't need to say that because you already know that. Anyway, this is really interesting here, these 3 planets, because they really mimic this by, they're 1 degree offset. Jupiter, and it's consistent. Jupiter's at 2 degrees, Neptune's at 3 degrees, trine, Capricorn to Taurus. Mars is exalted in Capricorn. Well, Jupiter is debilitating Capricorn. Mars is exalted in Capricorn. It's 11. Moon is 12 degrees in Taurus, exalted. So that's 1 degree less. And then Pallas Athena, which is an asteroid, 21 degrees Capricorn, trine Pluto at 22 degrees Taurus. That's interesting because it's so orderly and organized, and it makes a pattern, really nice pattern between these trine planets of Capricorn and Taurus. And remember, a planet in good dignity will help out all the other planets, including planet in bad dignity. So exalted Mars helps out the debilitated Jupiter. Exalted Moon helps out both Pluto and Neptune in Taurus. And Jupiter in Capricorn is reflecting on the 11th house in the Cancer. 11th house cusp is in Gemini, but it's reflecting at exactly opposite at 2 degrees Cancer. So that's a benefit to the 11th house, which is groups and networks, networking, being able to have influence over large groups, and also popularity. Jupiter in the 11th house in good dignity would make him extremely popular, and it has. Career success and wealth from the career as well, right? Because planets always have aspects. So the 7th aspect is not nearly as powerful as its own placement, but it still has a strong effect, right? What else? And 5th house is also excellent for fame, recognition, confidence, creativity. In this house, I would think he would be very athletic, and that I don't know that he was. And again, I'm not an expert on Cayce, but I briefly looked through the Wikipedia article on him, and I did not see that he was like an avid, physical enthusiast, sportsman, hiker, jogger, whatever. But I would think with this Mars and Jupiter in the 5th house that he would be quite physically active in Capricorn, because 5th house denotes creativity, but play and sports are often associated with it. And Mars being here, Mars is very physical. Mars and Jupiter together are quite physical, and a good dignity Mars in Capricorn would show like a very physical kind of playing, physical games, and that's kind of like sports or physical kind of athleticism. But I don't, anyway. So I think these strong Earth placements are inhibiting his psychic ability to the point that he needs to be asleep in order to access it. And I think that's why. That's why he's such a unique person as in regards to his how he accessed his psychic abilities, right? What else can we say about it? Moon is ruling the 12th house, cusp, and in the 9th, 10th, 9th and 10th, you know, it's having dual influence. So that's interesting. So like a career of spirituality, and Moon is generally what we would consider to be, you know, the most, that's where we look for psychic ability. Moon and Mercury mostly, but of course the Sun is going to play a big role. So Moon ruling the 12th house definitely helps. Moon being widely conjunct these two highly psychic planets, so Pluto and Neptune helps a lot. Uranus on the ascendant helps a lot. And then also Mercury is sextile the Moon. That's really powerful because it's connecting to the Mercury in Pisces. And then Mars, I don't know how the Mars is a sextile Mercury, but I'm not seeing that connection of Mars and Capricorn, how that helps at least his psychic ability, right? It gives him good understanding, I'll say that. 5th house, because 5th house deals with education and also spiritual. 5th house does have a spiritual connection in that it's related to spiritual texts and scriptures and mantras and things like that. There's a certain spirituality because it's trine to the 9th house, so we can't forget that. So that probably has something to do with it. And he, in his sleeping prophecy state, he talked about all sorts of things that that's one of the things that made him quite famous. So I'm just now, excuse me. So I'm just connecting that with that the 5th house spirituality of between the 5th and 9th of the scriptures, traditions, that sort of thing, and Jupiter in the 5th as well. That's going to relate to that. So that's connecting to his Mercury in Pisces, and so he's able to draw on the kind of spiritual traditions, ancient texts, Akashic records, all that sort of thing from the 5th and 9th house. So that makes sense. Yeah. That's pretty much it. I mean, his chart is, you know, it's pretty simple because it's all concentrated in the Pisces, Taurus, Capricorn, and Leo, basically. South node's in Virgo, but it's in the 1st house. North node's conjunct Mercury and Pisces and Saturn and all the rest. I think that's just making him even more psychic as he gets older. North node in Pisces, the 7th house. 8th sign though. Anyway, that's pretty much it. All his, let's see, all his planets are direct except Uranus. I don't know. Mars is not sure. It's 20. I think it's 27 minutes. So Mars is just about out of bounds. But anyway, not much else really to say. I mean, Chiron probably plays into it. It's well into the 9th house because it's in the same sign as the 9th house cusp, 9th sign. So Chiron was, and it's not badly aspected. So I'm saying Chiron here as being more like the healer, the shaman, the wise man, the teacher. Chiron does have a very strong spiritual element to it, especially when it's not in bad aspect to anything, which can produce the lower qualities of the wounds and rejection and needing to heal. So this was a spiritual asset, definitely in the 9th house in Aries, helping his connection to the spirit world and all that. And Sedna, no doubt as well. Sedna is a planetoid that's beyond Pluto. Sedna is super far out there. Not planetoid, it's a dwarf planet, I guess they call it. I was going to say like a mini planet, but no, dwarf planet. Super far out there, square Jupiter, exact. And so it's going to have a highly spiritual significance as well. And it's close enough to the sun, even though it's out of sign, that it's conjunct the sun. So that probably plays into it quite significantly. It's the further a planet is out in the solar system, the more spiritual its effects are. So this being beyond Pluto and it being in the 8th house, conjunct the sun, even though it's out of sign, still going to have that even next level spirituality to it. So Sedna is a planet to look out for with all psychic and spiritual charts, if you want to see how that's being influenced. Right. Square Jupiter. Well, it's making contact. In Jupiter squares are generally not so bad. Tendency to over exaggerate or overly expand things, but here it's just expanding the awareness, spirituality. Jupiter has a very strong spiritual side to it. In any case, I think that's it for Edgar Cayce. It is what we would expect for somebody as powerfully psychic as Edgar Cayce. You know, it's the double the watery 8th house Pisces, right, and then the moon. I mean, this is a bit of a throw off, the moon in Taurus, but he was a sleeping prophet, and Taurus loved to sleep. So I mean, what can you say? It still has the Pluto Neptune conjunction, the Uranus conjunct the ascendant. So anyway, Cayce, extremely powerful psychic asset to humanity, predicted many wonderful things. You know, a lot of stuff about Atlantis, a lot of stuff about that people still draw on and interpret and utilize for good use. So I hear a lot of good stuff about him in my research. So thank you, Edgar Cayce. We love your work. All right, guys, that's pretty much it for now. If you enjoy this content, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and share. And if you want to book a reading, go to my website, macroastrology.com, and I will be back soon with another reading. All right, thanks. Bye.